All right, good afternoon. We are live here at the Merchants and Citizens Bank. Deep Productions bringing you the Pac-12 South preview, and this, of course, is a continuation of our preview from last week where we did the Pac-12 North. Joining me, Caleb Harrell, Jacob Harrell, and good to have you guys here and good to be here at Merchants and Citizens Bank for what should be another really, really great show. And Jacob, why don't you inform our viewers out there again about some important information with Deep Productions and also how they can follow us and the process there.
Oh, yes, without a doubt. Deep Productions will go live again tomorrow at the softball game whenever we play Turner County at 5:30. And like I said in the last podcast, if you haven't been following us, go to Facebook and like our page so you can immediately be following us, get the notifications that we have gone live. Anybody that attends the softball game tomorrow will be handed a Deep Productions official business card. We have all the sites that you can follow us. We have an email address, the website, the YouTube, Facebook, and the new Instagram account as well. So go on there, get the email, get the emails. If you have any questions for us, email us there, and also go on YouTube, subscribe, and Facebook. Like I said, go ahead and like us, and go ahead and start following that Instagram account as well.
And again, guys, we welcome any comments today,
yes.
Correct?
Correct. And if you know a little bit about the Pac-12, join us over Facebook.
Exactly. We got plenty of college football fans out there, and especially today since we're getting into the USCs and UCLAs, some traditional powers. So, as always, today's broadcast is brought to you by Deep Productions, Deep and Deeper Cleaning, Merchants and Citizens Bank, Telfair County Middle School, CL Defense, and the Telfair County Chamber of Commerce. Thanks to all these fine sponsors. And also, some point in our broadcast today, we will be doing a trivia question, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you can text those answers to me, 229-315-2726, or Jacob.
Or 229-860-0773.
And also any comments, they'll be posted. Shout outs, we'll get some shout outs to you. Want to thank everyone for we were blown away by the support on our Pac-12 North preview.
Yes,
and great following.
Oh, yeah, it was. And, of course, with us down here in South Georgia, a lot of people, we including, weren't expecting as much support and views from that video as we thought, because nobody down here really knows that much about the Pac-12 North or the Pac-12 Conference in general, but we got a huge amount of views of it. Of course, Mr. Deep and us were discussing maybe we got 25 to 50 views on it at least, because of how unknown the conference is down here. But we were blown away by the number of views.
So thank you for your support and your support of Deep Productions. Miss Patty is here today. John Deep got it helped with the setup as well. I believe he's stepped out now.
Yes.
But Miss Patty is here, and we're looking forward to another great show. Again, thanks to all our sponsors: Deep Productions, Deep and Deeper Cleaning, Merchants and Citizens Bank, Telfair County Middle School, CL Defense, and the Telfair County Chamber of Commerce. So I guess without further ado, let's just jump right on in here as we look at the Pac-12 South. And we'll open up with the Arizona Wildcats, guys, a team that had been coached by Rich Rodriguez, who was not retained, was let go, and enter one Kevin Sumlin, former Texas A&M coach, who's making his move from the SEC West to the Pac-12 South. Arizona last year finishing 7-6 overall, 5-4 in the Pac-12. They lost to Purdue in the Foster's Farms Bowl. So this is an Arizona team that has a lot of talent returning, but as always with a new coach, there's a learning curve.
Exactly, Mike. And I think speaking of Kevin Sumlin, I think maybe the Pac-12 is more fit to his coaching style.
I agree.
To me, he's known for his style of offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily his, but it's considered his. But anyway, it's almost like a high fly type offense. Score points.
Exactly.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, because we saw what he did when he had one Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, Johnny Manziel really, whenever he came to Texas A&M, he actually really burst onto the scene in that Heisman-winning season that he had, of course, and the offense for Kevin Sumlin, you could pretty much, for lack of a better term, call it the air it out offense. And also with Johnny Manziel, he had that dual threat. He had that dual threat weapon with him, be able to run it and throw it at the same time. I mean, to me, I think Johnny was a better runner than he was a passer, to be honest. But being out there in the Pac-12, that air it out offense really suits his needs. And actually, talking about quarterbacks, as we go down the list of your notes here, I do see to where you have written it down, and I was blown away by this kid last year. And Kevin Sumlin really should be counting his blessings for this kid not leaving the school. Of course, I don't know if he was eligible to leave for the draft or not, but he got a lot of Heisman hype early in the season last year, and then he kind of fell away. But Khalil Tate is one quarterback to really watch in the Pac-12.
Yeah, this is a kid that that people may not know a lot about, but he is definitely a dark horse Heisman candidate, wouldn't you say, Caleb?
I would say so, and over on the East Coast, like we talked in the last one, we don't get to see a whole lot of Pac-12 games. Just going off highlights of Arizona, this young man is amazing.
Yeah.
He's one of those. When he has that gap, he's gone.
Yeah.
There could be 15, not 15. Excuse me. There could be 8 guys around him, and he's going to outrun them all. I mean, he's a special athlete.
Yeah, he has tremendous speed and should fit right in with that zone read that Kevin Sumlin's offenses are known for. They have a running back in J.J. Taylor, which is a young man that is an outstanding running back. May not get the publicity because Tate rushed for so many yards a year ago, but the Pac-12 South is not, let's face it, it's not the SEC West.
No, that's not.
And so if you're Kevin Sumlin, you're counting your blessings. There's no Alabama.
Right.
There's no Auburn.
There's no LSU.
No LSU, Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a great shot. The way the Pac-12 South is right now, it's kind of wide open. USC lost some key pieces last year. They got to come to Tucson this year. And the division's kind of wide open, and they got a great shot. And Sumlin brought over Noel Mazzoni, his outstanding offense coordinator.
Well-known guy who has done a lot of work with quarterbacks who are now in the NFL, and he's all around a really good coach.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this. I agree with you guys. I think this is going to fit these guys perfectly. They're inheriting an offense, 490 yards per game last year, 41 points per game under Rich Rodriguez. And I got to think that with Noel Mazzoni's expertise and Kevin Sumlin, I think this is going to be a potent offense.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and just think about the two coaches in general here. I mean, the two great coaches, and let's not forget the destination that Sumlin was at before he came to Texas A&M, and how well he did. How well he did with the Houston program as well. I mean, he turned that offense into a great team. I mean, just and you look at Tom Herman that come in after him and pretty much made into more of a powerhouse. But actually going into Arizona, especially with that well-known offensive coordinator, I mean, they're walking into a system that was basically made for them, and I think they'll have a great year.
And, we talk about Khalil Tate's running ability. He 153 carries, 1,400 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. But his passing numbers aren't bad either. 111 out of 179, 62% completion percentage, which is very good.
It is, and I'm no quarterback expert, but to me, if you look throughout his whole season this past year, at the beginning, I personally would have considered, he's just a running threat, make him throw the football. and you can beat the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the season went on, I was proven wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He really progressed and
Mm-hmm.
he's really becoming a great quarterback.
And I think, guys, what's going to make him even better this year is they're going to turn him loose a little bit more because Kevin Sumlin really likes to throw the football a lot more. And so I think that's going to make this kid even better and get him even more publicity.
And you're right. And another thing in the Pac-12, I'm not saying defense doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter as much as the SEC because if you have a good offense in the Pac-12, you can put up enough points and almost time of possession.
Mm-hmm.
You score, and you can pretty much outscore the opposing team. Where if you're in the SEC, a lot of times you got to get by a good defense.
Yeah, in fact, if you play in the Pac-12, you better be able to score points.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, but also, let's look at it this way too. I mean, let's kind of flip the script. And we talked about Kevin Sumlin and how he's looking at Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at it from Khalil Tate's eyes as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, Khalil Tate really should be licking his lips about the hire that was made because you think you look at Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M. To me, he's one coach that I've seen who actually has the most confidence in his quarterbacks to where he sometimes actually lets them basically make their own decision. Of course, I mean every decision is going to go through him, but he lets the quarterbacks be independent. He's not always down their throat telling them what to do every play of the game.
No, because in basically a lot of RPO system.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that, of course, at Texas A&M with Manziel, and also with Trevor Knight as well.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, it's going to be interesting to see how this offense evolves. We talked a little bit about J.J. Taylor, their running back, 146 carries for 847 yards. So he wasn't quite at 1,000 yards, but still some pretty good numbers, and especially considering when you got a quarterback that runs as much as Tate.
Oh yeah, makes you wonder. Oh wow, he got to carry it that much.
Yeah, exactly. So Taylor had 5 rushing touchdowns. He caught the ball out of the backfield, and I expect to see more of that. 12 receptions for 49 yards, a couple of touchdowns. This offense a year ago, 309 yards per game on the ground. That was third best in the nation.
Wow.
And I mean that tells you. I mean, yeah, Kevin Sumlin likes to throw it a little more, but when you've got that dynamic a ground game, I think you've got to tweak your system a little bit. And I think he's got to learn as well, because that was his nemesis at Texas A&M, the failure to run the ball enough and to have enough of a running game.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at the 309 yards per game, and you're getting up there with the elite programs in the nation. And I'm not saying Arizona isn't an elite program, but you're getting up there with some of the best of the best, like some that are in the SEC. You just got to face it. There's great football players are more than likely bred in the South, to be honest. But you're looking at teams like Alabama, who I know was up there toward the top in rushing yards. You look at all these other great programs, but you're right about something. That's one thing he's really got to get used to. He's more of that passing mindset type of coach, and this running game really should suit him well, to be honest. And plus, you got to think the 309 yards per game, that really speaks volumes for their offensive line as well.
It certainly does. And I mean, most of the time you see those type of rushing numbers, you think more of a triple option team, and this is not. This is a spread team. They got some weapons coming back at wide receiver. Tony Ellison and Sean Brown are back. They combined for 80 catches and 11 touchdowns. They got a couple of great tight ends in Bryce Wolma and Jamie Nunley. And guys, I thought the other day when we talked about the Pac-12 North, we kept hearing of teams with these tight end duos. Stanford, and then a great one at Oregon and Washington. So the Pac-12 apparently becoming the tight end conference.
Yeah, and when I said in the last podcast, when I think of a tight end school, I think of Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that's just the first name that come to, but now, like just like you said, you're beginning to see, not just Stanford, but it's your Oregon and it's your
Washington.
It's USC
Mm-hmm.
too also. So it's no longer just Stanford. It's beginning to spread throughout the whole conference.
Yeah, and talking about those, you made a good point about their offensive line. They're going to be led by left tackle Lath Freak. He's a freak, guys, literally. But he's going to miss the first 2 games. I'm assuming that's probably a suspension since they know he's going to be out 2 games. Their center, Nathan Etheridge, is also solid, but the rest of the line's going to be a little bit got some inexperience. That could be, if anything could derail this offense, that could be a problem.
Oh yeah, you're right. Of course. I mean, for somebody who is that highly touted that's probably going to miss the first couple of games. I mean, you could be looking at some tough 2 or 3 games at the very beginning of the year. But for a good team, is able to make these types of adjustments and possibly make the right adjustments, and you'll be just fine until they get back.
Mm-hmm. And let's face it. I mean, I know we talked about the progressing of the passing game, but the running game is what's going to make or break Arizona's season.
Yes, I agree, and because people know last year was Khalil Tate's breakout season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, they didn't really know about the kid, and of course a newbie. But now I believe they're going to say, all right, we're focused on him.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to not literally take him out of the game, but we're going to make sure he doesn't make the play to beat
Mm-hmm.
us. It's going to rely on the running back.
Yeah, great point. The running backs will have to step up in this offense, and Taylor especially will have to step up. All right, let's look over at the other side of the ball, because this is an area where they've got to get better, of course. They retained defense coordinator Marcel Yates. His defense will have to be better than what Sumlin's defenses were at Texas A&M. They returned 9 starters on defense, and they've got a couple of outstanding linebackers. We got Tony Fields, 104 tackles, and Colin Schooler, 95 tackles, but they're smaller linebackers, 6 foot, 225, but very good. Their leading pass rusher is back in Kylan Winborn. He had 7.5 sacks a year ago. He's kind of a hybrid in linebacker, defensive end type. So they've got some key players there in the back 7, and that wasn't really the issue with Kevin Sumlin though at Texas A&M. It was more the defensive line that seemed to be his problem.
Yeah, you're right. It really was. I mean, the defensive line and the linebackers as well. He seems to be inheriting some good people here. But if you look back at Texas A&M, you think about, let's see, one person in particular that he had the pleasure of coaching. You look at Myles Garrett. I mean, I would kind of compare Myles Garrett to maybe this Kylan Winborn here.
Great comparison.
That hybrid defensive end and linebacker, because sometimes you would see Myles Garrett kind of be off the line and be in an upright position, and sometimes he'd be down in that 3-point stance going after the quarterback. But to me, you're right. Kevin Sumlin, to me, actually had a slightly better, or would you say slightly better, or maybe needed more improvement on a defense at Texas A&M?
Oh, they definitely needed improvement.
Yeah.
And you had John Chavis, considered one of the great defensive minds, and what was supposed to be a ton of talent, but they just couldn't seem to get it done there.
Exactly. When he came over to Texas A&M, I believe from LSU, if I'm correct, you heard a lot of bragging. Oh wow, they've made a really good hire, and you should begin to see a change on the defensive side. And it just seemed like something didn't work out. Like I don't know, but was it? I don't think it was the coaching. I think it was more of the players not really buying into what he was teaching.
And here's the thing too, because of the offense being a more finesse, did they just lose their physicality? This is a crazy term, physicality mindset.
Well, that right there would really drive you to think so, because to be honest, this defense. Let's repeat that point again, Mike. I couldn't really hear you because of this headphone.
Did they really lose some of their toughness and physicality there at Texas A&M?
I mean, I would probably say so. I mean, because this is kind of a cliche point, because you think about those players at Texas A&M. Did all of them, quote, buy in? I mean, that right there is a crucial part of actually being a physical defense.
Yep, I agree. And when you're in the SEC West, you better be physical.
Yeah, because you play Alabama. No, you're right, Mike. I think maybe it was more of things really became stale.
Yeah.
Coach Sumlin's voice began to, it was almost the players knew each day what Coach Sumlin was going to say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think things just got old, and it was beginning to show that, hey, it's time for a change.
Yep. And you look at it, this their defensive tackle, Derek Bowles, 6'2", 296. He should be well suited to hold up in the rigors of the Pac-12 South, as opposed to 296. Against these SEC lines, you get shoved around.
Definitely, because you see 330 and all that good stuff. And just a side point, think about the Arkansas offensive line, who's mammoth. They play these guys. It's almost just a one-hand push and they're out of the way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hate to keep going back to the SEC, but you just there's a difference there in size and, like you said, the physicality of the teams.
And that's why I think his teams are going to do well at Arizona. I think he's going to fit better where he's at. They had some issues in the secondary last year. They gave up a Pac-12 worst 286 yards per game in 2017. They were led by Lorenzo Burns, a sophomore who had 5 interceptions. They're expecting him to step up because they're going to need somebody in that secondary to really step up. And the pass rush, obviously, is a key to that as well. I would like to think that from what we saw with Myles Garrett, that they could use Winburn especially, like a Myles Garrett. Improving the pass rush is going to improve any secondary.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I mean, if that just to go ahead and make a quick prediction here, I mean, to be honest, I mean, with that new coach coming in, you would think with the leading pass rusher, I think Kyle Winburn will actually be one of those guys to buy into Kevin Sumlin. But you're exactly right. The secondary also must improve. I mean, you think about some of the secondaries that Kevin Sumlin may have coached in the past, especially out with Houston and then and at Texas A&M too. I mean, he wasn't really known for his secondary at Texas A&M, but you got to think somebody who's been in the SEC and been at other programs. He knows his stuff. Maybe he can bring some new life to the secondary.
Yeah, and that's going to be the thing to watch this year. Will this change of scenery be just what the doctor ordered for Kevin Sumlin? We'll watch and see on that. All right, why don't we take a moment here to recognize one of our sponsors. And we'll jump right off the bat with good old Deep and Deeper Cleaning. And if you want a really, really deep clean, call 229-315-2569 and talk to Tim. Tim and TJ and Miss Patty and John and the whole crew. They can get it done for you, and they'll do a great job cleaning up. And with Deep Productions as well, They make a great team together, all of them. So thanks to Deep and Deeper. How are we doing on our comments and shout-outs?
Selena Ray Hall is watching you.
Okay.
Roe Williams and Selena Harrell and Clay Self is watching.
All right. So
Please let us know about the audio.
yeah. So glad to have. All right. So.
So big thanks goes out to everybody who is watching, and we do welcome feedback on this audio. Being we said at the very beginning of the show that we are testing out a new system of getting this audio, so you will have better audio at the softball game tomorrow. Because I mean, we want the fans to be as loud as they can at the softball game, but we also need you guys to be able to hear us. So that's why we're trying out this new system.
Yep. Looking forward to that. So. That's right. And on Friday, we'll be traveling over to the Watermelon Classic
Yeah.
as the Trojans, I believe they take on Dodge County at 5:30.
Dodge County
correct?
at 5, and then I think around 7:30, I believe they'll be playing Crisp County, the
Okay.
the host school.
The host school.
Yeah.
So tune in to that as Coach Ellis. The girls, we do need to make a note. They I believe they lost a tough one to Coffee on Monday.
Yeah, they did. They lost a tough one to Coffee. I believe it was 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe, but I also do want to give big props to the JV team as well. The JV team is also doing great. They are sitting at 4-0 on the
Mhm.
season. They defeated Coffee, I believe, shut them out, but they
Mhm.
did score 14 runs. And then at Clinch yesterday, they ended up defeating Clinch 14-2. So you get in 2 games and they score 28 runs. The bats are hot for the JV team right now.
No doubt about
Yeah.
it. So looking forward to that. And again, yeah, we need your feedback about our audio. And again, we had Clay Self, Selena
Hall.
Selena Harrell.
Selena Harrell,
Okay.
Crow Williams,
Connie.
Jay Hall.
Okay. So thanks to all of you listening and watching. And so, guys, let's move along to our next team here. The Southern California Trojans, as Keith Jackson would say. Fight on, fight on. And USC, one of only 2 Pac-12 teams a year ago that finished with double-digit wins. They won the Pac-12. They finished 11-3 overall. Had an embarrassing end to the season against Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. And the question for USC, guys, for so many years, especially during the Pete Carroll era, where we saw the Reggie Bushes and the Matt Leinerts and all the talented Lindell Whites, all the great running backs, receivers, defensive players. I mean, this was a program that was feared. It was one of the best. Then you have the ugly situation of probation, mistakes in coaching hires with Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, some issues with the athletic director there. They've kind of lost their way, and they turned to Southerner, one of us, a Southerner from SEC country down here, Coach Clay Helton, who's done a tremendous job rebuilding and reestablishing the program. They've made back-to-back appearances in New Year's Six bowls. Of course, that 2016 Rose Bowl, who could forget that one?
It's hard to forget that. And just the USC program as a whole. Yeah, I know that they went through a hard time with Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, but at one time you maybe could have called them Heisman University.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
because of Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, didn't Carson Palmer also?
Yes, that's correct.
Heisman? So I mean, that's just 3 of.
And not to mention Heisman's from yesteryears as well.
Yeah.
So
It's a very rich program that's got a lot of good history, but here lately they've had a lot of bad history.
yeah, no doubt. And of course we talk about that great win over Penn State where Sam Darnold led them in that Rose Bowl.
Without a doubt, that right there, just to interject a point there, that was a tremendous game. You think about Sam Darnold actually leading the team through to finally get that close win, but you also got to give big props to Penn State about how they played in that game as well. Trace McSorley, who is, to me, an underestimated quarterback, and also the very high draft pick from this past year, the running back Saquon Barkley, who made some tremendous plays in that game as well. But to actually talk about the other side of the ball in recent history with USC, you think a couple of years ago now, you look at the very big threesome of linebackers that they had in that. A couple of years ago, you got Brian Cushing. You have Ray Malaluga, who at last I saw was with the Bengals, I do believe. I don't know if he's still in the NFL or not. But also the more well-known of the 3, Mr. Clay Matthews, who's the big star of the defense with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean, USC is known for being loaded with talent. I mean, they're in the right there under the hills of Hollywood, big time program. And so a lot of pressure on them to finally knock that door down and not just win a conference championship, not just get to a big bowl, but to make the college football playoff, because we're in this will be year 5.
I think so.
And can you imagine we were 5 years into this, and we've yet to have an appearance by Southern Cal in the college football playoff.
Yeah, and going back to a week or so ago, that was a topic of discussion on I believe it was college football.
Mm-hmm.
What conference do you believe doesn't make it to the playoffs? And the Pac-12 led that vote.
Yeah, I mean, until they step it up. I mean, I know Oregon made it in 2014 and Washington in 2016, but Washington didn't last long going against Alabama.
No, they didn't.
So I mean, it's a fair point, and for the tradition-rich program of USC, they've got to get there. I mean, they have to knock that door down.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and this honestly, this at the same time this is, but also isn't a matter of quote reputation.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody who's known for having so much talent come in year after year after year, and like you haven't made it to the playoff yet. I mean, how have you not made it there? I mean, then that's just the question that's going to be asked over and over and over until they get in.
Yeah, with the championship level program,
Yeah.
and with any coach. I mean, we've seen it with other coaches. Mark Richt, a great guy. You can almost make that comparison here to Clay Helton because he's known as a great character guy, a strong Christian guy who's really tried to come in and be a mentor and really change the culture of the USC program in that regard, but really emphasizing character, discipline, and faith and things there. So, he's got to knock that door down. It's going to be tough because USC loses not only Sam Darnold, but they also lose running back Ronald Jones, who was a huge part of their offense a year ago. And so those are two key pieces that are missing. And, guys, they may be turning to a true freshman. JT Daniels, the much hyped recruit, one of the top quarterback recruits in the country. He's an early enrollee. He's the prototypical USC quarterback with the big arm, can make all the throws. The question is, can he handle that role? We saw what Jake Fromm did last year, a true freshman at Georgia, but that's the question here. Can JT Daniels really step in? We're talking the pressure. You're in Los Angeles. You got media coverage. I mean, that's going to be the key.
And where's JT Daniels from? Do you know?
I'm not sure on that.
You're not sure? But I mean, by no means am I putting our state on a pedestal, but I mean, if you look at Jake Fromm as a quarterback, I'm just referring to him as a fellow true freshman. He's a sophomore now, but I'm referring to him in the situation of him being a true freshman coming in. If you look at our state, wherever he's from, but you look at the state of Georgia, I mean, a lot of recruiter analysts and head coaches have said before, especially about the state of Georgia, you look at somebody who can handle the football talent in this state and then go into a college and be able to handle his role at the college. He's pretty much handling somewhere around the same type of competition, but from other states. I mean, his competition level hasn't been boosted that much because of how big the talent is at the high school level as well, because pretty much you're going to have a lot of people go on to a big college from a state that's got very big talent at the high school level. But JT Daniels, I mean, it's really yet to be seen. Can he have the same type of mindset like Jake Fromm had? I mean, just like I said, I'm referring to him as a fellow true freshman. Can he go in there with the same type of mindset as Jake Fromm? Go in there, be that hard worker. Go in there, start having some one-on-one time with the receivers and one-on-one time with the running backs. I mean, work on the basically some on the side work. Can he get in there and just put in the hard work? Be the first one there and be the last one to leave. Pretty much learn the playbook inside and out. I mean, it's just all about how he attacks the role, whether he can handle it.
No doubt. And USC really may not have much choice, guys. They've got Jack Sears and Matt Fink, a couple of which are basically serviceable quarterbacks behind JT Daniels. But it may be baptism by fire for JT Daniels this year.
And you're right, Mike. And I think as a freshman, I have experienced this one. Neither have all of us here, but I think that would be just starting one game.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the case, just starting one game, I personally would be nervous enough playing in Southern California, but knowing coming in as a true freshman, hey, I'm the only resort that they can go to. Really.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that alone is enough pressure in the start.
Mm-hmm.
But now knowing hey, I'm the one that's got to lead this team, and I think if he can give them over a 500 season or over for as a true freshman, I think it's a good season for him.
For him,
For
yeah,
him.
yeah.
But now as a team wise, in the school they're gonna want the more wins,
Yeah.
the better.
Yeah.
But I think the school needs to understand that the kid is a freshman and just getting his feet wet.
Yeah, and they're going to have some people step up. I love the name of this guy, Amon Ra St. Brown. He is a new recruit coming in. This kid is a player to watch, ladies and gentlemen. He's projected as a slot receiver, but he's got speed to burn, and they're expecting big things out of him. Can we say that again? Amon Ra St. Brown.
I wonder how he's going to fit that on the back of that jersey.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very, very interesting.
I have to go back to school for names.
Oh, wait till we get to some of these others in a little bit. But even with him being young, they've got a solid receiving core. Their number one guy is Tyler Vaughns. Also, they have a couple of tight ends coming back. We keep talking about tight ends in the Pac-12. Tyler Petit and Daniel Imator Behabe, who will be back as well. So the two returning tight ends there. But probably the key on their offense is the fact that they lose running back Ronald Jones, a 1,500-yard rusher, 19 touchdowns. A lot of people think that he is a bigger loss than Sam Darnold.
Hey, honestly, I think I agree, to be honest, because, don't get me wrong, Sam Darnold is an excellent quarterback. He was tremendously talented, and of course, just throwing a little tidbit about Darnold being we're talking about him, of course. I know we're in the preseason, but he is slotted to actually get the start in the next Jets game, to be honest. But Ronald Jones to me just seemed like to be a bigger impact player on USC. He was that running back that everybody could count on. He was basically called one of the best running backs in the nation. He was able to actually hit the holes hard and be going there, make his right cuts, and basically just if you were in his way, he made you get out of the way.
Yeah.
But just an all around great running back, like you said, for this guy who's coming in. Ronald Jones, of course, had speed to burn as well.
And with the USC running backs, it's not just about running the ball. You got to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield, as we saw in the past with Reggie Bush. So they'll turn to a duo of Stephen Carr and Cedric Ware. He'll look to be that's going to be their main two guys. Ware is the physical pound you back. Carr is more that shifty type back who will be good at catching the football out of the backfield. So that's going to be big. They return 4 starters on the offensive line, including Toa. We have a Tua at Alabama, but we have a Toa at USC. Toa Lobenda, and he was an all-Pac-12 tackle.
Let me guess, he's from the islands.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was an all Pac-12 tackle. They're also looking for big things out of Austin Jackson and Clayton Johnston. They'll probably be manning those tackle spots. And also another big-time recruit and player for them on the offensive line, Chuma Edoga.
No, you weren't kidding about these names.
Yeah, so that's a guy that look for that offensive line. That's going to be key. They've got to protect the ball, though, guys. And this was Sam Darnold's problem a year ago. USC turned the ball over 27 times. And think about the number of times Darnold was criticized for almost throwing interceptions. They would be dropped or just he got away with some. And then the number of times he fumbled the ball and USC was fortunate to recover, or either these turnover totals could be even more than 27.
You're right, and that does that make Sam Darnold? Do you give him even more credit than what he got, or does it or do you criticize him more for forcing the ball? And I think when he did decide to come out, people were saying, "Oh wow, he's going to force the ball. He's going to force the ball." And going off your stats, Mike, you see why. During those cases, you know, he had somebody in his face. He had to get rid of the ball, or
Yeah.
he was going to be sacked, just like you said. And I think too with Ronald Jones, the running back, you know, you made a comment. He may be more of a loss than Sam. Yeah, and I think with some of Sam's down games, you know, thankfully you could rely on him to max the effort and put them over for the win. And just real quick point: the two running backs you mentioned also. I think it's going to take a duo of running backs for at least this season to replace him. So
running back by committee,
yeah,
basically.
they go maybe like University of Georgia, maybe. Maybe. So
Well, if you're at USC, you would think they should have talented running backs. I mean, we're talking about the long history of USC running backs.
Just to
going
make
back
a quick,
to the 60s. My bad.
just to make a quick point about the 27 times of actually either fumbling ball or 27 turnovers. Really, you think about Darnold as well. There was a couple of times to where it kind of appeared that if he even got bumped, he dropped the ball.
Yes.
But honestly, I do believe this was to make a statement when he done it. Of course, we can remember back to USC's pro day. He executed his pro day in the rain. That's a lot of people probably didn't notice that, but I think he was trying to prove a point to say I can hold on to the football. So why not go out there and throw a wet football then?
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a focus for USC this year is protecting the mile. All right, let's look at their defense real quick. By USC standards, this was not the USC defense. Okay. All right, so we've got a little bit of time on this segment, and then we'll move on to the next one. So let's finish this. Trojan defense last year, 68th nationally, gave up 26 points per game. That's not USC style defense.
No, it's not.
You're right there, and you know, like Jacob mentioned earlier, the trio of linebackers. You know, that's just three players from USC who now are playing professionally in the NFL. You know, other than that, I can't really throw you any names out there. But if you watch football, college football, and of course, you probably have to be a little older. I'm on the younger side of things. You may know a little bit more than what me and Jacob do, but just like we've talked about here throughout this whole segment, USC has a rich history, and if anything, they're known for the defense.
No doubt. I mean, they have been loaded, especially in the Pete Carroll days with it turning out. They lost their top two pass rushers last year, but they do return Christian Rector. I like that, Rector, who had 7.5 sacks a year ago. He can also play outside linebacker. They've got Porter Gustin, who gives them another solid pass rusher. Now, he's coming back from a knee injury that caused him to miss the entire 2017 season. So they're really counting on him being back to 100% to really wreak havoc in opposing backfields. And they're looking for big things from their defensive tackle, Brandon Peely. So they also return linebacker Jordan Iosefa, who was one of the top players in the country a year ago, 225 pounds with great speed. Middle linebacker Cameron Smith, John Houston, another linebacker who had 84 tackles a year ago. And so they got a talented secondary coming back. They gave up 3,300 yards in passing last year. How does a Southern Cal defense give up those kind of numbers? They're with the talent we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean that right there is you're exactly right. To put it in simple terms, I mean you're not used to seeing that. And of course I know the head coach was extremely disappointed with that. I for one really would, because I mean I can understand possibly topping the 1K mark at possibly, but you get 3,300 yards thrown against you, especially in the. I can actually recall back in the UCLA game when they played them. That's one game they got tore up.
Yeah, great point, because Josh Rosen threw for 421 yards.
I mean, that right there was just a great job on Rosen's part.
Yeah.
that's why he was first round pick.
Yeah, exactly. They allowed 250 yards passing 7 times last year. But they still got some talent there, led by corners Iman Marshall and safety Marvell Tell III. So, and guys, we're kind of, I mean, we make it sound like they were such an awful team. Forget, they were 11-3. They were the Pac-12
Yeah, they were the
champs.
Pac-12 champion. I mean, of course. I mean, they had all these mind-boggling numbers that make you wonder, how did you win your conference when you did that? But you also got to look around the other, like well, we've already done the North, but I mean you got to look around the whole conference too at other people's records. I mean they were one of the, were they the only one to hit double digits? Or
Washington, the
I was
only
saying
other.
Washington,
Yep.
and Washington hitting double digits as well, but only 2 in the conference that hit double digits, one from the South and one from the North. I mean you got to think. I mean look around at what all the other guys did. I mean, and you can see how they got to be the champion. I mean.
No doubt about it. So, guys, the biggest question this year for them is can they survive the schedule? Look at some of the road games at Stanford, at Texas, and a game that went to overtime last year, a classic. They're at Arizona. That could very well be the game that swings this division. They've got to go to Utah, who's supposed to be really good. And then they finish at home against Notre Dame. And let's face it, Notre Dame torched them a year ago.
They did. They really did. And a lot of people are expecting some big things out of Notre Dame this year. But, I mean, maybe USC can pull a rabbit out of their hat.
And let's face it, if they run the table – well, let's just not even say run the table. If they survive this, even possibly with 2 losses as a champion, I mean, I know they didn't get in last year, but that's a pretty impressive slate of schedules.
It is, and with I would say the struggle that they had this past season, if finish with 2 losses, it's a win.
I mean, it would. Conceivably, seeing how the College Football Playoff Committee has viewed it, they probably wouldn't get in, but you would definitely have to make a serious offer. And I mean, they had a great strength of schedule a year ago.
Yeah, they did. But of course, with being the only, like we said a while ago, being the only one of 2 teams to hit double digits in wins, but also those 3 losses is what literally just threw them down the staircase. Yeah.
And guys, one thing that doesn't get talked about, this was talked about a radio show earlier today. They played 12 Power 5 schools a year ago. Nobody else in the country, I believe, did that. I'm talking about 9 conference games, and then you had Notre Dame and Texas as 2 of your. I mean, that is a tough schedule.
Yeah, it is, and if I don't know how the playoff committee would look at it, but like I believe you said, the 2 loss maybe, where last year to me, where last year the Pac-12 was not even considered.
Mm-hmm.
If they finish with 2 losses, and with this schedule, they would have to be considered.
Yeah, and I think it's a no-brainer if they go 12-1 as Pac-12 champs, they're in.
Right.
Against that schedule. All right, so real quick, let's thank one of our sponsors, the Telfair County Chamber of Commerce, located at 9 East Oak Street in McRae, Helena. You can contact them at 868-6365. Also, Rogers at telfaircounty.org. And also go to www.telfaircounty.org. And Telfair County Chamber is also on Facebook. So check out the Chamber of Commerce podcast on Deep Productions. And so thanks to Miss Patty doing a great job there. And how are we doing on what? We got any more new shout-outs or comments here?
Troy Spires is listening in, Michelle Royal, Amy Cravey, and Jacob Mullis. He and Troy Spires are return watchers.
All right. So
Nice.
shout-outs to Troy Spires, Michelle Royal,
Amy
Cravey, and
Jacob
Jacob Mullis.
Give autographs, but I would give them to
We might have to have a Deep Productions autograph session. Stay
yeah.
tuned for news on that.
I'm not sure we're quite that popular.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, TJ would be the one that would get all the autographs
Yeah.
because he is the star. And one of these days, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to
Yeah.
get him on here.
Either have that autograph session or actually have a panel for fans to ask questions.
Yes,
So,
yes, no doubt.
And we also know that's the audio we will be using tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys. Let's give out our trivia question that somebody has a chance to win. All right, this is gonna seem like this is a math question because our next college football preview will be the Big 12 conference, and this is going to seem like a trick question. How many teams are in the Big 12 conference? If you can answer that question, then you can win. I don't know what our prize will be. A blue horn. Okay. Stadium horn. Okay. So if you can answer that question, you can text the answer to 229-315-2726.
229-860-0773 and put a little disclaimer out there. Don't you dare use Google.
Yeah. Yes.
If you're
yes.
a football fan, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move along because we got as we said before, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Let's talk about the UCLA Bruins. 2017, they were 6-7, 4-5 in the Pac-12, lost in the Cactus Bowl to Kansas State, 35-17, and of course that led to the dismissal of one Jim Mora Jr. and bring in, of course, the man Chip Kelly to Westwood, and Chip Kelly coming in. Of course, Chip Kelly, great career at Oregon before moving to the pros. In his 4 years at Oregon, his Pac-12 record, guys, was 33-3.
That's impressive. I mean, that's beyond. I mean, that's just putting it lightly. That really is impressive. I mean, to win, to go 33-3. I mean, that right there is just a great achievement. And to talk about Chip Kelly now with him being the coach of the Bruins, I mean, can we expect to see UCLA having a Oregon type pace? Well, I was going to say without a doubt because you even saw that in the NFL. He had the Eagles going at a blistering pace with running those plays.
Yeah, I would think so when he gets the type of players.
Yes, but I would say within a year or two, he will slowly begin to get the players he wants. Not saying the ones there now are not the ones he wants, because he has inherited them. And these type of players are not necessarily fitting his mold with offensive wise, but he's going to make the best of what he has until he gets those type of players who can run that type of offense that he runs.
Yeah.
And if you know, going back to the last show, it was the offense of go, go, go.
Yep.
Go, go.
Yep. And it's a very special type of quarterback that he has to have to fit that system. And that's the challenge. UCLA loses Josh Rosen to the NFL. That's opened up a huge quarterback battle. And let's face it, Josh Rosen definitely probably would not have fit the mold of what Chip Kelly was looking for.
No, I would not say so. I would call him that pro style type of quarterback.
I agree.
Who stays in the pocket, makes his reads, and throws the ball.
Yep.
We do have a text in that's trying to get the answer.
Okay, Jacob Mullis is saying 12 or 11. Actually, that is incorrect on both answers. So, kind of, if you follow the whole realignment thing that happened in college football a few years ago, you might know. So keep trying though, Jacob, and anybody else that can come with that answer. And so, looking at this quarterback situation there, last year to finish the year, you had Devon Modster was their guy that finished the season in the bowl game, and he was the number one guy in spring, and he does seem to fit that mold.
He does, and maybe I dream this, Mike. Did they get a transfer quarterback?
They great point. They have a transfer coming in from Michigan, Wilton Spate.
Oh, okay.
And Spate left Michigan after Michigan went and got Shea Patterson.
Right. So I don't know a whole lot about the kid, or either one actually, but with him being at Michigan, apparently he fits the mold of Jim Harbaugh's offense.
Great point.
So it's hard to say how he would work out in this type of offense here.
Great point, Caleb, and that's the knot. That was and oh, by the way, I do need to say this: the material today brought to you courtesy of College Football News and Athlon Sports. So we want to give those credits out there, and that was the point. They said if you're looking for a guy to run an RPO offense, Spate is not the guy. so that's going to be interesting. They've got a new recruit, and he seems to be the future. Question is, will he be ready? Dorian Thompson Robinson. He's a star.
Yeah, that name finally rang a bell for me. Dorian Thompson Robinson. If you think back to last year when you had a Ohio State commit, Tate Martell, go to Ohio State, Dorian Thompson Robinson was actually Tate Martell's backup at Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Bishop Gorman is a national high school football powerhouse. They won basically 3 to 4 consecutive high school national titles.
That's correct.
So basically, Dorian Thompson Robinson is that thin, mobile quarterback who can get around, and he's got a good arm on him as well. I mean, of course, he actually competed at Trent Dilfer's Elite 11 quarterback camp. Dilfer did have some constructive criticism for him. Basically, told him that in high school he barely got any playing time. Because if you look at him, and he got a big offer got some big offers because of where he was, and he's a good quarterback. But typically, all the way through Tate Martell's high school career, he was a practice quarterback. He got practice throws, practice targets, or whatever. But he never really saw a lot of time as a quarterback in a game. So that's the one little bad part about whether he can really manage himself at UCLA. But to fit the mold of Chip Kelly, I do believe that he can, if he, like I said, how he attacks the role is what will kind of help him there. If he gets in there and starts working hard, learns the playbook, like I said, first one on the field, last one to leave. I do believe with how fast he is and how the offense ran at Bishop Gorman. Bishop Gorman's offense was kind of fast-paced, like Chip Kelly likes to run it too. As a wild card pick or a sleeper at UCLA, I would probably say give Dorian Thompson Robinson more credit than what people would give him.
So definitely keep an eye out on that quarterback battle. They've also got Austin Burton. I don't know a lot on him. So that's going to be the key for Chip Kelly is finding a guy that fit his system. But also for this season, Caleb, Chip Kelly's got to be able to kind of tweak his offense to fit his talent as well.
Right, and I think also tweaking the offense, fans, and then the school also should give him at least a year to like we go back to his previous give him time, and as the players learn more and more of his type of offense, his offense and his ways of leadership, I think. Within 3 years, you'll begin to think. When you think Pac-12, you'll think UCLA.
Yeah, I agree. Just gotta be. Patience is the key in Westwood right now.
Oh, without a doubt. You guys make a great point about tweaking the offense. He's got to be willing to do that because some parts of his offense, there's just some things that some schools and some kids just aren't fit to do. Just like you said with Spate. For running a offense like Chip Kelly, if he ain't fit for it, you got to adjust it. But if Spate is your favorite, just say he is right now for playing the scenario. If Spate is Chip Kelly's favorite right now in that quarterback battle, if he can't run this system, you got to tweak it because if you like him more than the other ones, you got to tweak it so you can get him in there.
Yeah, you got to make a huge adjustment, and also Chip Kelly's got to find the running back. Love these two running backs, guys. This is the veterans. I love these names. Bolu Olorunmafumi. Baloo, Olo, run from me.
Olo, run from it.
and Soso Jamabo. Those are their veteran running backs. And see how much easier it is in the SEC with our players. But those two guys really, again, don't fit the system. They've got Martell Irby and Casimir Allen, though, two newcomers, and they're those prototypical type running backs like we saw at Oregon. The quick, shifty running backs that, plant the foot and go, on that zone read.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and of course, those types of running backs, you see who the coach is now. Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly seems to be with his days at Oregon. He seems to prefer that type of running back. And if you look at all those guys that came from Oregon, like you said, plant the foot, shifty. As soon as you see a hole, they've shot through it and he's gone. So really, I mean, those guys, no matter how tall they are, I mean, they always stay low to the ground. I mean, because especially with it as fast as they are, staying low to the ground is key. And if they're low, and if they get below, and if they actually get below your little radius of where you actually dive after them and try to tackle them, I mean, those guys are gone. You ain't getting to them.
No doubt. Now UCLA. Okay, so we're up against the clock, so we'll try to kind of move on here. But real quick, they've got to replace their top two receivers from last year, who combined for 129 catches, 2,000 yards, and 19 touchdowns. So that's a tall order. They'll look to Theo Howard as one of their guys. This team never hit the 200-yard mark last year in the running game.
Wow.
So that's got to change tremendously.
It does.
Especially with Chip Kelly's offense that wants to get that running game going first. Go ahead.
A lot of relying on Josh Rosen.
Yeah, exactly. And that'll have to change, especially with a new quarterback. They've got a new defense coordinator in Jerry Azzanero. He's got his work cut out for him as well. They were dead last in the Pac-12, giving up 484 yards and 37 points per game. They're moving more to a 3-4 defense. We know we've talked about that before, the challenge there. Jalen Phillips, a sophomore outside linebacker, they're going to need a lot from him. He had 3.5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss last year, so they need him to step up. Also, they've got Darius Pickett returning in the secondary. So they've got some talent. All these guys are talented corners, Nate Meadows and Darnay Holmes. But the question, I guess, is just how big an impact will we actually see in year one under Chip Kelly as far as wins and losses?
So you're wanting a number?
Yeah, just how much? Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, throw out there a number.
Throw out a number.
Well, would it be okay to say 500?
Okay, sounds good to me. I'm gonna say 7 wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say they either match last year's record or go to about 7 wins, because didn't they get 6 this past year?
They were 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
Correct?
So I mean, I'd probably have to side with you on that. They either match last year's record or either improve to 7.
Yeah,
7 wins.
I think if they somehow get to 8, Chip Kelly gets tip of the cap big time.
And I think in time, the reason I say 500 is I think give a period of time of adjustment to his presence in the locker room and around the team and all, and that's the reason I say 500.
Yeah, I agree. All right, quickly moving along because we got some more teams to cover. The Utah Utes, 7 and 6 a year ago, 3 and 6 in the Pac-12. They defeated West Virginia in the Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl last year, 30-14. Why is that significant? That was the only victory the Pac-12 had in a bowl game last year.
Lord.
As we said in our previous podcast, they went 1 and 8. Utah's had some. We remember, guys, they've had some good teams, going all the way back to the Urban Meyer days with Alex Smith, and then after that, Kyle Whittingham has pulled off some major wins. Remember the bowl game against Alabama a few years ago, where they just shocked Alabama, and so Utah has been on the cusp. But now is their chance. You got a Pac-12 South with all these new coaches at UCLA, Arizona, and Arizona State, and USC, as we talked about, with some question marks. So they may never get an opportunity better than this to possibly win the Pac-12 South. They're the only team of the 6 teams that has yet to play in a Pac-12 championship game since they started having the championship game.
Now it's the year.
Yeah.
Now it's the year. Just I'm gonna be honest, Mike. Before this, I didn't know much about, but going off what you said, sounds like they have a chance. To be honest, I didn't realize all the different coaching changes. This school's one of the few schools who have kept their head coach, and people think, oh, he's just a coach. But I think when you keep a coach, they know your voice, and it makes a difference.
Stability.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, it's especially with what this guy's done at Utah. I mean, you made the mention just a couple of minutes ago about the game against Alabama, and was it the Sugar Bowl? I
Yes,
believe
that's
it was in the
correct.
Sugar Bowl. This was back before they had the play. It was back before they had
Yeah,
the
it's
playoff.
before the
It was
playoff.
back before they had the playoff, and him. And the football team basically sent a bunch of Bama fans back home to Tuscaloosa with their mouth on the ground.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much. And I mean, and that right there just speaks volumes for that coach and how good he is. And I do believe that they've got a shot to get to the Pac-12 title game this year, to be honest.
Yeah, 9 starters back on offense. That includes quarterback Tyler Huntley, running back Zach Moss, their offensive line pretty much. They've got probably the best special teams duo in the nation in a place kicker Matt Gay and a punter Mitch Wisnowski. They might be the best duo. So, and of course, we talked about Coach Whittingham, a great coach. They also probably, the one thing that helps them, a very manageable schedule. We talked about USC's brutal schedule, and the USC has to go to Utah this time.
And that right there could be in favor of Utah right there. Especially we talked about all the improvements and recoveries from the losses that USC's got to make. That could be in favor of Utah, and you never know, that could spell danger for USC about whether they can go in there and have a chance to pull off a win, but who knows.
And this is year 2 with offense coordinator Troy Taylor. I don't not year 2 with him, but this is year 2 of his more of a change they've made on offense with a more of a downfield passing attack. They want to go more tempo. So year 2 in a new system, that should make for a better improvement, a huge improvement as well.
It should, and there's something magical about the second year of an offense. In that first year, as we've said before, there's a little struggle and a learning process, but there's year 2 is when it really takes off.
Yeah, and they'll need to, because they were 8th in the Pac-12 in total offense a year ago, averaging only 29.5 points per game. Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Years ago, 29.5 points per game was pretty doggone good in college football.
And now that's awful. I mean, Yeah, awful. I'll go ahead and say it. I'll use that term. That's not good.
No.
Conference.
Exactly, in that league.
Yeah.
They had their worst rushing attack since 2013, and they gave up 38 sacks a year ago. So that's got to get better. Lo Falamaka is a solid player at center. They've also got Jackson Burton and Darius Paulo. They should be manning both the tackle spots. Usually Utah known for having some big, strong offensive and defensive linemen. And we talked about Huntley, the quarterback, 6'1", 190, threw for 2,411 yards and 15 touchdowns. But one thing, and we talked about this with USC, he threw 10 picks. That has to get better.
That hurts. And a quarterback who takes care of the ball makes him. A quarterback who takes care of the ball is always a better quarterback. I know that. Well, not duh, but
It is.
It's true. And when your quarterback does take care of the ball, you tend to have more success, and the flow of the offense and the success of the offense does a lot better.
And that's going to be one of the keys if they want to finally break through and get to the championship game.
Oh, without a doubt. You made the point earlier, and Caleb talked about it, is this tempo could be the magic factor that really could lead them to the Pac-12 title game, because especially you look at, I'll go back to talking about Chip Kelly again with the tempo at Oregon, about how they literally just tired out defenses because they were moving faster than the defense could really get back and get set up. It's like just as soon as one play was over, they're doing another play again.
And of course, they're looking for big things out of their defense. They also they have one of their key receivers going back to the offense that they're getting back from 2015. He was their leading receiver, Britton Covey. He's been away on a Latter-day Saints church mission trip, so they get him back. That should be a plus. They were only 32% on third down conversions last year, so that's got to get better. But 7 starters back on defense. They've got some veteran linebackers, Donovan Thompson, one of them, and so they've got some big guys up front on defense, 6'5", 317-pound Lakeith Fatu. And so he's going to be a key for manning that defense. It should be a team that'll be difficult to run on.
Turn my mic on. I could talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're right there, Mike. Just again going off the stats that you have given. This is the year, I believe.
Yeah,
This is the year.
they were third in total defense and third in scoring defense in the Pac-12 a year ago. So, and also Utah, a very tough place to play. A lot of people don't know that. And Julian Blackman, remember this kid? He's considered one of the best corners in the Pac-12, and he's like I believe he's 6'2". Their other corner, Tyrone Smith, is 6'4". So 2 tall corners, great ability to match up with those tall receivers that are so common in the Pac-12. So,
and that's a rarity to have a defensive back who's 6 foot plus.
yeah, and that's the trend now, and you want to get more and more. Exactly. All right, what we got here?
Yeah, I was just showing you the time.
Okay. All right, so we got to move along quickly. Let's thank CL Defense real quick. CL Defense, the best little gun shop in Georgia, so check them out. And so, Jacob, why don't you give us a quick rundown on Arizona State and Colorado? Just hit some of the high points here as we're running out of time.
All right, and then just to actually do a little comedy here, just like with a new head coach, like you play to win the game. Big hire, to me, big hire for Arizona State this year.
And Miss Patty's looking at us like we're
Miss
crazy.
Deep is just so confused. A couple of years ago, their new hire, which is Herm Edwards, he's a great coach. He had some pretty good years in the NFL, but he had that one infamous press conference where he has that signature phrase now of "you play to win the game." But Arizona State, I mean, I honestly can't argue with the hire. I mean, you had let's see. This is what Athline Sports is saying about Arizona State in their little rundown. It says the Arizona State Sun Devils won't lack for intrigue with Herm Edwards on the sideline this season. The former NFL coach has worked at the college level. Hasn't worked at the college level since 1989 and is being asked to elevate Arizona State beyond what previous coach Todd Graham produced over 6 years in the Pac-12. In the short term, just getting to 6 wins would be a successful debut for Edwards.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that he commented was that he was shocked at how much work there is in recruiting.
There's a lot of work that goes into that, a lot of time and away from family also, and just the nowadays of social media. Some don't realize the impact that social media plays on these kids. To jump off the topic, chase a rabbit here real quick. I heard article. I read an article where PJ Fleck, who's at Minnesota, texted a recruit every 30 minutes.
Wow.
Throughout the day, when it got time close to signing day. So that's if that doesn't show how much time and dedication coaches have to put into recruiting. It's a process that can be your friend or it could be your enemy.
No doubt.
No doubt. Coach Herm Edwards, I think it's a good hire. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh wow, what they got an old man to come in and let the program." Hey, he's a motivator.
Hey, we saw Lou Holtz years ago
Correct.
leading Notre Dame. I mean, and what he did at South Carolina late in his career. I guess that's a better comparison.
Well, just to actually read some more, I'll read the final analysis that Athlon had, and then we'll jump to Colorado and talk about them some. Their final analysis, once they pretty much gave 2 or 3 pages of stuff, says the presence a handful of top shelf Pac-12 players may mask to some degree the scope of ASU's overhaul, but at least it'll give the staff a boost in the traditional phase. While the Sun Devils likely won't challenge for the Pac-12 South Division title, they have potential to remain relevant into November. All eyes will be on Edwards, one of the most intriguing hires in college football in years.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. They were 7-6 last year, 6-3 in Pac-12 play, so they weren't a bad team. They were embarrassed in the Sun Bowl by NC State 52-31. So obviously that probably left a bad taste in their mouth, and hopefully they can use that as motivation. All right, quickly on to Colorado.
On to Colorado. Let's see. Let me get back to it. After winning the Pac-12 South in 2016, the Colorado Buffaloes slipped to 5-7 in a rebuilding season last fall. Both sides of the ball were to blame for decline, but Colorado has to get its defense back on track after giving up 6.1 yards per play in 2017. But the Buffaloes returned 6 starters, but question marks remain about this unit's ability to stop the run, and they must find a replacement for standout corner Isaiah Oliver. Quarterback Steven Montez returns after an up-and-down 2017 season to anchor the offense. However, his supporting cast will be revamped as the Buffaloes lost prolific running back Philip Lindsay and 3 key receivers.
And Mike McIntyre, considered a great coach. He was in the running for some jobs last year. And Isaiah Oliver was drafted by.
I do believe that he is a Falcon.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So looking at him. All right, real quickly, we've got to make our predictions here as we are running out of time. Why don't I give Jacob first chance at this here?
Okay. Let's take a look here through back what we were saying.
And going from 6 to 1 as we did.
Oh, we're
with
going
the
from
North.
6 to 1. Okay. You know, just from what I've read on Athlon about Colorado, I mean, it seems like they've got a couple of steps to take to get back to the top. So I'm going to say that they'll finish 6th.
Okay.
Going to number 5, I will probably have to say that. Let's see. Let's run through who we're talking about again.
We had Arizona State,
State,
Utah, UCLA, USC, and Arizona.
I want to see what Kevin Sumlin can do first, so I will say that in his first year, he's got some kinks to work out, so I'll say they finish at number 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. Which, honestly, I mean, I'm a big fan of Kevin Sumlin. I actually hope he proves me wrong, but I do think they got a couple of things to actually fix. Well, you know, change that. Make that Arizona State because I want to see it. Because I want to see what Herm can do once he's gone back to the college level since 1989. He's had a big break from coaching.
Yeah, it will be interesting there.
So sitting at number 4, I'll say that we'll get. Let's see. UCLA.
Okay.
Let's see who we got left.
USC, Utah, and Arizona.
Let's go Arizona at 3.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to pull a Mr. Deep here.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to pull the Mr. Deep here because he's kind of shocked us with his picks before. I mean, I want to see these guys do it because I think they can. Let's say that you're going to see the Trojans finish 2nd in the South, and I want to see the Utes pull off a division title.
The Utes.
Yeah.
Jacob throwing the Corso. Not so. I may go with that in a minute, but go ahead, Caleb. I'll let you have next pick at this.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go with who is this right here?
Arizona State.
Arizona State. Okay. No disrespect to Coach Herm Edwards and Arizona State, but I'm going to have to go with him at 6.
Okay.
UCLA at 5.
Okay, interesting there.
Colorado 4.
Okay.
Let's see. No, I'm gonna make a change. Let's go Arizona 4, Colorado 3,
Okay.
and that leaves me with USC and Utah. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I like Utah, but I think I'm gonna have to put them at 2,
Okay.
and then USC at 1.
Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna go with Arizona State at 6. I'll go Colorado at 5. I'll go UCLA 4. Then I will go. Yeah, go back and forth on this, but Khalil Tate is just too good for Arizona not to be better. So I'm gonna say Utah 3. I'm going to say Arizona 2, and I will go with the USC Trojans at number 1. All right, so real quick now, we've got to pick the overall winner of the Pac-12. We all went with Washington in the North, so
All right, so we're going. So we're basically saying an overall winner. We're picking who we said to finish. We're actually picking our two champions together.
So Utah, you had Utah
Utah
versus Washington. Who you got winning that one?
Well, just by going over what we said in the North, really, of course. I mean, Utah seems to be a promising team this year. Like I said, that's my wild dog there. But Washington is returning a couple of good people, especially Jake Browning. So I'll have to say that Washington fell short last year, but they'll do it this year.
All right, Caleb, your pick between USC and Washington.
I think both teams are really great teams, one in the South, one in the North side. But I'm going to have to remain faithful to Washington. I think the game will be close, but 3-point game.
Okay. All right. All right, I also had USC and Washington. Guys, it's going to be a clean sweep because I just think Washington's the most talented team in
the Pac-12.
In the Pac-12, and I think they're going to beat the Auburn Tigers. That's right, Auburn fans. I said it right here. On September 1st, your Auburn Tigers are going down to the Washington Huskies. That's exactly right. So add a little fuel to the fire here.
I mean, trust me. I mean, just by saying that Washington is the best team in the Pac-12, I mean, Jake Browning is a huge piece of the team, but he's not the only piece. So that's one reason I'm saying that I like Washington so much. I've grown to love Jake Browning as a quarterback, but he's not the only piece. Washington's got a good couple of pieces that complement Jake Browning and just make them an all-around sound football team.
And so if I'm wrong, we'll have to come up with something that if I'm wrong, I tell you what. If I'm wrong, on this, I will sing the Auburn fight song after on our tailgate show the following week after that game. I will sing War Eagle right here on the show if I'm wrong. So,
somebody needs to get you a jersey and let you wear the Auburn jersey and sing the fight song.
Okay, all right, that'll work. But I'm telling you, Washington wins. All right, we got to thank all these sponsors.
And we
got
to get out of here.
Deep Productions, Deep and Deeper Cleaning, the Merchants and Citizens Bank, Telfair County Middle School, CL Defense, Telfair County Chamber of Commerce, and I apologize we didn't get to do our sponsors each segment, but we had to kind of speed it up there. But Miss Patty, what else we got as far as updated shout outs or?
Still got the same ones, and they've been watching. Don't forget about reminding them about tomorrow and Friday's game.
Oh yes, and tomorrow, of course, like I said in the beginning, that anybody who attends the softball game versus Turner tomorrow, that we will be handing out these Deep Productions business cards. They have all the information you need to know at the back. For anybody who hasn't been following us, and this may be your first episode that you're watching, go to Facebook and like us. You'll immediately be following us. Go like the Instagram page, follow, like it, whatever you do, because I don't have Instagram, so I don't know what you do with it. So go follow it, like it. Go to YouTube and subscribe, of course. If you want to visit the website, all the content is there. And if you have any questions, you can get in contact with any of us or go to the official email address and email Miss Patty or Mr. Tim.
Well, Caleb, I don't think – did we have a winner to our trivia question?
I had an attempt, like I said, with Jacob Mullis. He made an attempt, but he was wrong on both tries. He texted me back after I told him that they were both wrong, and he said, well, heck, I don't know.
All right, so I guess should we go ahead and reveal the answer?
Yes.
All right, how many teams are in the Big 12 Conference? 10.
10.
So, yep, that's because they used to have 12 and they lost a couple of them. Well, actually, they lost 4 teams and gained 2 back.
Yeah.
So that would be the way that goes. So, guys, any final closing thoughts?
No, I mean, this right here's yet again been another great podcast. I mean, I can't wait for the next one because I believe we'll be jumping into the Big 12.
Big 12 conference.
jumping
We
into
might
the Big
have
12.
to, since there's 10 teams, we might have to split that into
I was
5
going to say split
and
it into 5 and 5. But, of course, I mean, I'm very excited for the upcoming ones, especially when we get over to the East Coast. And just the off-the-wall topic here, yet again, the Braves. I've been so
Yeah.
happy to watch the Braves the past couple of days. I mean, they're starting to win. I do believe they're getting very close to catching the Phillies again, possibly
Well,
taking it.
actually, have taken a 2-game lead now.
Okay, cool. And
Yep.
and especially, and like Mr. Deep just said, if you didn't hear him, Ronald Acuna, he seems to be on a tear right now. Let's hope he stays that way. So, guys,
Yeah, Ronald Acuna, that guy is on fire. All right, Caleb, final thoughts.
Well, Mike, after today, the one thing I didn't know, there's so much talent again in the south side of the
Mhm.
Pacific Conference. Even though, you know, us being SEC fans and we hold them to SEC standards, they're good teams, and it's going to be exciting this year to see who wins it all.
Yeah, no doubt, and watching guys like Khalil Tate and seeing how he does, and Tyler Huntley at
Tyler
Utah, two really good quarterbacks there in the South. All right, so without further ado, unless
Give your final thoughts. Or-
that my final thought was about Ronald Acuna being
Okay.
on fire.
I
So.
got you.
Miss Patty, anything we need to say before we get out of here? All
I
right.
would just that. So, I mean, are we going live straight as it starts? Are we going to do anything with pregame?
Well,
or-
I guess if we get on a little bit early, we'll have our Merchants and Citizens Bank pregame show
Okay.
around 5:20ish, maybe. Okay.
And then at 5:30, you'll go live and you'll be watching the Lady Trojans play Turner County. Until then, thank you for watching.
Yep.
And also, and don't forget the post-game show, the CL Defense post-game show. We had a great show last time. Coach Ellis gave a great interview. I mean, it was glad to have him back on there, especially for the first game of the year. I had missed softball season so much, and I'm glad to get back into it.
Yep. So for Mike Spires, Caleb Harrell, Jacob Harrell.
See ya.
See you down the road. Peace out.
What are you doing, freeze frame?